Big g'day and welcome to another edition of the RDFNL Footy Show. My name's Yeendy. I'm here with Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Getting ready for a big round one?
Always. It's the best time of the year.
It is certainly. There's an element of expectation to see how all the teams will go. All the practice matches have been done and dusted. And no doubt the clubs have taken out what they want to. Not every team strives to win, do they? No, those sort of matches?
No, a lot of time it's getting players into the system. If you've got new coaches, it's learning new game plans, learning new structures. So for everyone, practice matches are so different and depends on who you're playing. Like I know some clubs, Sunbury Kangaroos took on Keilor, a stronger side. So some will take on those stronger sides to see where they are with them. Others will play those lower ones and mix that up.
Well, it's what it's all about. Whereas you've got a team like Wallen, they went out and played 4 games and won all 4 of them. So and Rockbank, they played 2 games and had 2 big W's. But we kickstart our previews for the upcoming round 1 action as we look to head to Diggers, Rest and Riddle. We saw an exciting conclusion to last year's grand final, but the way the 2 teams have progressed, they're sort of going in opposite directions. Diggers, Rest. Just quickly, they've lost a few big names from that grand final side.
They have. They've lost Jace Williams, who's gone back to Keilor, where he played a few years ago because he wanted to test himself at that higher level. Luke Smales and Cole Laurie have both gone up to New South Wales. Tom Evans has gone across to Rockbank. Plus, they've also lost their ruckman from last year's grand final.
And the Bombers, they've lost a few names as well.
They have. Their forward line's taken a hit and not just their forward line, a lot of their taller players. You've lost Braden Allen, you lost Jason Allen, James Nolan, and I think Brian Ruffle looks like he's going to be out as well. So
and Ben said too.
Ben said that's four big players from that side. That's going to make them look very different, especially up in the forward line.
Based on those ins and outs, I guess ins particularly for Diggers, they've got a big in from formerly from the AFL, Lockie Langford. Tell us a little bit about that.
Lockie has spent the last 2 years on Hawthorn's rookie list. He's the brother of Will, who is still on Hawthorn's list, and father Chris played 300 odd games for the Hawks as well. So very good AFL pedigree. He's coming straight out of an AFL environment into the Hawks. He seems at this stage to be their only real in as they look to focus a little bit more on youth. Talking to Sean Sims last week, he said they are going to be a much younger side than what they have been the last few years. And
given the depth they have through the reserves, it's really good for the club too.
It is, and not just their reserves, but they're also their 18s. I think that's the big thing for them, is to start pushing young players from their 18s up into the seniors, something they haven't had a lot of with not many junior sides the last few years.
What do you think we'll see from this game?
I think we'll see Diggers Rest win, but for me it's quite interesting to see how Riddle's going to line up. I think their forward line is going to be the key to how they perform this year. With no Ruffle, no Nolan, how are the Bombers going to kick the goals?
I think we might see a few surprises, maybe a few players that have maybe played in defence throwing their hand in the forward line. I know one of the Walsh boys, Tim Walsh, he did slip forward in a practice game and he was a notable target, very good overhead. So be interested to see whether the Bombers do go ahead with that option in 2017. As we look to what is probably on paper the match of the round. It's hard to say match of the round when you're in round 1, but Wallen and Macedon, 2 of the big improvers, both played finals last year. Wallen went out in the first week in a good game against Broadford, and Macedon, they went down by less than a kick in the first semi-final. But from all reports, both have recruited well, despite their losses.
They have. I think for the Cats, it was just adding those finishing touches. They got the bonus of Matt Dick coming back to the club, another player coming off an AFL list. So
as a 1-point player too.
As a 1-point player, and you've got Daniel Markovic, who came midway through last year as well, a full pre-season under his belt. You've got 2 guys who have been on AFL list, fit and raring to go. That's always a big boost for the Cats without anyone else.
James Wright comes in as effectively as a new recruit as well after missing a lot of last year due to work commitments.
It is. So Cats for them, I think the big thing is making sure that this time of year hasn't been the problem for them the last couple of years. It's come the end of the season, and if they've got fit players come finals time.
Wallen, they've always been the sleepers in the pre-season over the competition in recent seasons, but they have boosted their stocks with good quality depth to improve their list for 2017.
They have, and they've got a few more from Craigieburn where their coach Daniel Nolan came from. So you've got guys that have come from a club that has just won an EDFL Division 1 premiership. So the club as a whole, Craigieburn, has tasted success. So bring those guys over into Wallen. They've seen what that environment is, can only benefit the side.
Wallen were a tremendous force in 2016 at home. They're almost unbeatable in the first half of the season. Do you think they'll still have that advantage this year? And will we read too much into the result of this game?
I think at this stage, home ground advantage, you sort of see that more come winter when you've got the wind, you've got the rain, and you get very muddy ground. So sides really know how to play their grounds in that time. You're expecting a really good weekend with good weather can't see that having too much of an impact at this time of year.
Who do you think will get up in this one?
I've tipped the Cats, so I think they'll get up.
Yeah, I think Macedon will get up within a couple of goals. I don't think it'll be too much. I'll be happy with whoever won this game because we're going to see two tremendous teams battle it out in 2017 and go forward and be feeling further enriched in the top six. And we look to teams who were sort of down the bottom half of the ladder in 2016, Woodend, Heskett and Lancefield. That promised to be an interesting game because Lancefield, they've sort of slipped under the radar in the pre-season. And the Hawks, they've had a few come in, they've had a few go out. How do you see this one panning out?
These two sides are interesting. I think last season both had expectations to move into that top six, neither did. Mm-hmm. So for them, it's about trying to make that next step and bridge the gap. Lansfield only just missed out on finals last year, so they were right there. Hawks were filled with injuries, so that didn't help them and didn't get the wins they were after. So it's going to be a very interesting one because they're both pushing for that top six spot and they're probably around the same spot going into the season.
Lancefield, they have a big return of Scott Swindle to the team. You've seen Scotty play before. How vital is he as a key position player to the club?
He is, and someone who can come in who knows playing under Ash Manning, knows what the club's like, that you can step straight into that, doesn't have to learn everything from scratch.
And very capable of kicking 3 or 4 goals in a short space of time. Be a perfect complement to John Kent, who is going around again despite an injury-interrupted pre-season.
It is. He hurt his hand playing cricket, but he was back playing in cricket grand finals. So, and speaking to him about, when I was talking about cricket, we mentioned footy, and he was looking forward to getting back out there.
Fantastic. And the Hawks, they welcome the return of Tom O'Loughlin, who came back from serious injury last year. His performance was quite well in the pre-season, but they also welcome home Dan Toman. Now, through your work in the BFNL, we've discussed it on previous shows, outstanding player, a former Hawk junior. How do you think he'll go?
He's one player I'm looking forward to watching. I saw him play in the BFL with the Sunbury Lions, and he dominated at that level, and he was also playing at VFL level. So you've got someone who's got that experience, won a best and fairest at Bendigo Gold a few years ago in the VFL. So you've got someone who can find the ball and get him in the midfield with his brother. Big bonus for the Hawks. Yeah,
and I know Ben will be absent for a little part of the year due to holidaying, so good to see the young kids getting out and about. How do you see this one going?
I've tipped Lancefield, so...
I do think the Hawks will get up. I think their form has been pretty good over the pre-season, and I think they've got a lot to prove in 2017. Another game that's in the last year would have been a genuine blockbuster. We've seen a bit of a turn of events that has indicated that it might not be that way. Rupert's Wood v Broadford. Rupert's Wood have strengthened up. Broadford, on the other hand, they've gone a little bit the other way over the pre-season. It hasn't been good with them in terms of player retention for a number of reasons, but they've got a new coach on board, James Philpott, who was an outstanding ruckman in the competition. How do you assess their pre-season from what you gathered? It's hard.
It is. From what you gather, and it's hard because they have been lacking numbers on field, not just their seniors, but their reserves and 18s. So Broadford's a really hard side to judge because they have lost a lot of players who were in their senior side the last couple of years when they have made finals. So Broadford's that one side is an unknown.
And Rupert's Wood, on the other hand, they have strengthened their team up. Dean Putt's probably one of their biggest recruits in the ruck, and he has had AFL experience and played footy in a local area. They also gained Nathan Stevens, who was a Scarborough medalist a few years ago over at Romsey and played at Woodend. The two boys did play their junior footy together at Woodend Heskett. So I think the two of them will complement each other very well, Nathan being a key position player as well as Dean. They just seem to be getting stronger and stronger, and it'll be the biggest talking point of the year, Tara, because the question will be can they win a final in the RDFNL senior footy department? And they're doing what they can at the moment to try and make that happen. Yeah,
exactly. As you mentioned, they're doing what they can. And I think they've recruited the right people. You've also got Sean Hetherington, who played juniors at Rupert's Wood, to come back to the club. He's come back from playing at Williamstown, where he was part of premierships there in the VFL. So that's always a good thing. And Jesse Wallen's another one, comes from Keilor. They won a premiership. So you've got Wallen, Hetherington, Stephen, and Dean Putt, who have all come from sides that have won premierships. So winning culture is a big thing as well. So I think they've recruited not only players that will help them on field, but they're that leadership and know how to win at that time of year.
And also got a coach that has won a senior premiership in the RDFNL as well, of course. Kev coached the Lancefield side to the 2009 win. Now night footy kicks off 2 times over in round 1. It's the first time we've seen it in the history of the RDFNL competition, which is great. So you've sport for choice. We'll cut across to Sunbury Kangaroos v Romsey. This is going to be a pretty appetising clash because both teams have had a bit of a shake-up with their personnel on and off the field over the summer. Let's look ahead to Romsey, a new coach, and with Corey O'Sullivan. You have been in touch with Corey in fairly recent times. How's he feeling about the upcoming season for Romsey?
I think for Romsey, it's continuing what they did last season. Obviously, they came off 2 premierships in 2014 and 15. But for them, last season was about bringing through their juniors, bringing through that young group. And they ended up finishing 9th with 6 wins, which was good signs going forward. It's more about the long-term approach they're taking. And it's going to be much the same for them this year.
Jack O'Sullivan, Romsey Jr., is fresh from cover cannons duties. He's going to be another force in the midfield as well. They've recruited a couple of other players, but including Darren Goodwin, who's jumped across from the Cattery, a reigning Bowen medalist. Family connections there. You've got to make the most of it while you can.
It is, and that's it. You've got to make the most of connections when you're at a local footy club, and Darren's brother-in-law with Corey, so it was an easy choice for him to come across. Obviously, would have loved to stay at Cats, but I think that family connection brought him across.
I think Corey hasn't coached at sort of senior level before, but he was a very successful junior coach, so I'm looking forward to seeing how he adapts at that level just as a coach, and hopefully can bring Romsey their success, given, as you mentioned, they've got a lot of young players. Sunbury Kangaroos, though, they have strengthened their side. They've lost James Barnes. He didn't have the best of seasons last year, but they've recruited Mitch Farmer, Phil Lobb, very valuable assets to the team and household names in the RDFNL.
It is, and also Josh Burgess comes across from the Sunbury Lions as well, so he'll add depth to that forward line. They've sort of lost Barnes out of the forward line, but they bring in Josh Burgess, who is a proven goal kicker in the BDFL. So they've brought across quite a few players, a lot of experienced heads, and it adds a bit more depth for the Kangaroos as well. They only just missed out on finals, so for them it's to get back in those finals. And you mentioned, as we talk about premiership players, that winning culture, Lobb and Farmer have played in winning premierships. Josh Burgess was part of the Sunbury Lions grand final side last year.
How do you think this one will go?
I think Sunbury Kangaroos will get up.
Yeah, it'll be a cracking game at night footy there. I think Romsey will get close, but Sunbury Kangaroos, just with a little more experience, will come ahead. The final game of the round, and Highlands FM, just making their debut, slotting in nicely down at Arnold's Creek for the first time ever. It's great to see radio get down there. Melton Central's v Rockbank as part of the Festival of Footy weekend over at Melton, because of course in the BFNL we've got Melton South v Melton. And if you're going to watch some of that action, then make sure you get over to Arnold's Creek at night, because I'm looking forward to it. For me, I just said to the better half, newly married, I've put all the cards on the table and I've penciled in April 8. I said I'm going to Melton South and I'm going to Melton Centrals for the whole day. And we're not divorced yet, so it must be great, because it is a festival of football over at Melton, and this is going to be an interesting game. Not so much for the on-field personnel, but the off-field personnel, which will drive this game, I think, for me.
It is, and for me, I think this could be the closest match of the round. Both sides, the second time they played last year was pretty close. That was the closest Rockbank got to a win last season. So for me, this will be a pretty good match. Obviously, they finished bottom 2 last year. Melton Central's only won 2 matches. They were both against Rockbank. Rockbank didn't win a game. So there's a lot for both of these sides. As you said, Rockbank's come off 2 pre-season wins. So they will take a lot of confidence out of that. Both sides have new coaches, so it'll be interesting to see how they go. Should
be a cracking game under lights from 7 o'clock, and the netball starts at about the same time as well. So it promised to be a cracking weekend. How do you see that one going down?
I tip Melton Centrals, but I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think Centrals get up, and I also agree with the fact that it probably will be the closest match of the weekend if Wallen and Macedon don't follow too far behind, which would be great. Tara, thanks so much for joining us. You'll be joining us each and every week as part of the RDFNL Footy Show. We appreciate your company, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.
Thanks for having me.